Last night was game 1 of the 2024 NBA Finals, and before we get into this game, I have to say leading up to this series, the Celtics were minus 210 favorites on DraftKings to win it. Yet for some reason, the national narrative seemed to be way more on the Dallas Mavericks. AP reported that BetMGM's sportsbook said 80% of the bets were coming in on the Mavericks to win the NBA Finals. But it wasn't just the public betting, it was also the experts. Stephen A. Smith picked Dallas. ESPN's experts on their website picked Dallas 9-8. And even the writers at The Athletic split 5-5 when picking a winner, which in my opinion just felt a little weird considering how dominant the Celtics have been all year. And it felt a little bit like some recency bias given the fact that when the Suns came into the first round, everyone was on them over the Wolves, me included. And it also felt eerily similar to how trendy of a pick the Wolves were after they defeated the Nuggets in 7 games. But basketball is all about matchups. And in my preview video, I said this was a completely different matchup for the Dallas Mavericks than the Minnesota Timberwolves were. So with that being said, the first thing I was curious about when the game was tipped was how Boston was going to take away the lob and the Derrick Jones Jr. and PJ Washington corner threes, who had been hitting them at an absurd percentage compared to the regular season. Boston's game plan was Jaylen Brown on Luka, and I like that because Jaylen's taller than Drew and he weighs more. Drew Holiday on Kyrie Irving. They put Jason Tatum on Daniel Gafford, Derek White on PJ Washington, and Al Horford on Derrick Jones Jr. On Dallas's end, the matchups were DJJ on Tatum, PJ on Jaylen Brown, Daniel Gafford on Al Horford, Kyrie on Derek White, and Luka on Drew. With that being said, let's get into this game. Look at 38-year-old Al Horford starting the game off with a bang. I'm so happy for him. And then on the defensive end, he blocks Kyrie, which we just saw in the Western Conference Finals. Rudy Gobert tried multiple times. Kyrie would continue to rise above him. And Al would also block Luka later on in the third quarter, which is crazy because neither of these guys get blocked very often fading away. Dallas did have the advantage 13-12 early on with 7:20 to go. And that's when Kristaps Porzingis checked in for the first time since he strained his calf in game 4 of the first round. And immediately when they put KP into a ball screen, he helps off Derrick Jones Jr. a ton onto Kyrie. It looks like Boston's perfectly fine with wing threes from Derrick Jones Jr. and he misses. I cannot say how incredible of a stretch the rest of this first quarter was for Kristaps Porzingis. He denies Derrick Jones Jr. here, and then again, incredible rim protection. Boston has been dearly missing his rim protection, and even on the offensive end, KP early cooks Derek Lively, which how many times have we seen that happen in these playoffs? Blocks Jaden Hardy and then comes down, hits this jumper, and all of a sudden, Boston went from being down 1 when KP checked in to being up 10, 28-18. Although Dallas started 7 for 10 from the field, they would finish 2 for 13 the rest of the quarter once KP checked in. And of course, for good measure, KP hits this 3, another block on Kyrie, and Sam Hauser hits a 3 as well. All of a sudden, this is a 17-point game, and the exclamation point to end the quarter, Kristaps Porzingis, another block. This was the Kristaps Porzingis quarter. Boston finishes on a 24-8 run on the back of Kristaps Porzingis's 11 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 blocks. KP was a plus 16 in those 7 minutes. A lot of young men deal with shame, insecurity, and the feeling of being alone, yet they think they're weak for getting help. I was there 5 or so years ago, but I had multiple people in my life help me realize that it is not weakness, but rather being vulnerable and admitting you need help is one of the strongest things that you can do. I also think there's a lot of stigma with therapy, that you should only do it if you're in a drastic circumstance, but that could not be further from the truth. The truth is that it's not just for marriages on the rocks or people with severe mental health issues. It's for anyone who needs to externally process with an unbiased third party and work through things so that they can be the best version of themselves for the people they love. If you're a young man listening, BetterHelp is a great option for you because it breaks down that initial hurdle of embarrassment. You don't have to make a call or visit an unknown environment, but rather you can get connected from the comfort of your own home. First, you go to their site. You can use my link in the description. You answer a few questions and BetterHelp will match you to a professional who has years of experience helping people with struggles just like yours. Visit betterhelp.com/hardwood or use the promo code hardwood during sign up and enjoy a special discount for your first month. Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back into it. And I'll be honest, that was pretty much the game right there. That 7-minute stretch in the first quarter that Kristaps Porzingis was in was the difference. I think it was pretty genius the way that the Celtics held him off. I'm sure they could have forced him to try to go in the Eastern Conference Finals. However, he looks so good for someone coming off a strained calf. Those injuries can be tricky. The ESPN broadcast brought up a great stat. That was the largest first quarter lead in game 1 in NBA Finals history. There was a couple cool plays in that second quarter. This Sam Hauser no dip 3, this Jaylen Brown dunk, where he absolutely hunted Luka and blew by him. And again here we see Boston's game plan seems to include some type of wing 3 being left open. PJ Washington misses it. Now I have no clue how to look up wing 3-point percentage, but like we said, PJ Washington and Derrick Jones Jr. have been feasting from the corner 3 this postseason, shooting 42% and 47% respectively, and Boston clearly was taking that away. This play right here shows that doubling Boston is such a worse idea compared to Minnesota. They make the right pass and they kill you with their shooting. Jaylen Brown was phenomenal as a two-way player in this game. He was able to keep that energy up all game. He defended Luka super well, and a part of Boston's game plan with taking away these lobs and these corner 3s meant that guys like Drew Holiday and Jaylen Brown on Kyrie and Luka had to play good one-on-one defense, and they did that in large part in this game, something that Minnesota could not do. Here's another example of Derek White not allowing that corner 3, but again, PJ Washington gets a wing 3 instead and misses. And this is why it's such a luxury to have Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Derek White, because Derek White doesn't have to be put on Kyrie or Luka, and as incredible of a defender as he is, his off-ball instincts are off the charts as well. He's waiting for Luka to throw this corner 3, and he jumps the passing lane. Boston's up 63-42 at half, just an absolute dominant half from the Celtics. And I know that Dallas has had slow game 1, specifically in that Clippers and Thunder series where they were both down by 20+ points as well. But after this first half, they have some serious questions to answer on the offensive end. To start the third quarter, this is another example of why Boston is so hard to defend. Derrick Jones Jr. tries to fight through a screen that Luka switches, and in that little mental lapse of half a second, he doesn't have enough time to recover for this Derek White 3. But Dallas was going to give Boston one punch, and they would do so starting at the 8-minute mark in the third quarter. They were down 68-48. Just 2 minutes later, this Luka 3 puts them down 13, 72-59, and again another Luka 3, 72-64. And this is where Dallas missed a golden opportunity. Derek Lively gets an offensive rebound, travels, and then the next possession, Kyrie travels as well, and that was pretty much as close as they would get. Now I have to say, I don't really think Dallas found anything on the defensive end during this run. It seemed to be a lot of the Celtics just missing shots and just not sticking to that offensive execution they had earlier in the game. Jaylen Brown again showing how invaluable he is with these 2 blocks. And then this 3 puts it back at 22. And just like that, it's 86-66 at the end of the third quarter. Boston would win 107-89. I want to highlight Jason Tatum really quick as well. He's gotten a lot of hate, and I'm not saying he's a top 5 player in this league. However, what he did tonight is something that not many stars are willing to do. He made the right plays on offense. He didn't really force anything, especially with Dallas loading up on him. And then on the defensive end, he had the tall task of guarding Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively, and he did a phenomenal job doing that. He took away the lob threat, something Rudy Gobert and this Timberwolves team was not able to figure out, and he really just did what his team needed him to do to win. Luka finishes with 30 points, 10 boards, and just 1 assist. And that's not going to cut it if you're Dallas. You need Luka to at least be facilitating some. 1 assist is just so absurdly low for Luka. It had me wondering if he had ever done that in a playoff game. And so I checked StatHead, and no, that's his only playoff game ever with just 1 assist. He's had 1 other game with just 2 assists, 1 other game with just 3, and 7 total for assists or under. What a defensive masterclass and game plan from Joe Mazzulla. I don't even know what the adjustment should be for the Mavericks. Jason Kidd, they got to figure something out. That's above my pay grade. But as of right now, you aren't going to beat Boston without a lob threat available and the corner threes being taken away. But this is what the NBA Finals are about. They're about adjustments. Jason Kidd probably was not thinking that Boston was going to be able to take both of those away. They did so, and now it's Dallas's turn to adjust. And speaking of corner threes and lobs, I have no idea how to get data on alley-oops for specific games. However, I did see this tweet saying that in the first half, I rewatched the game making this video. I saw one oop that was like a layup from Derek Lively, and there could have been others. I just don't remember any specifically from Lively or Gafford. In terms of corner threes, NBA gives us that data. And as you can see here, Dallas was 1 for 3 from the corner. So it wasn't just that they were missing shots. Boston completely took that away. And like I said earlier, they took that away by letting those open wing threes be shot. They must have some data that I can't access that show that PJ Washington and Derek Jones Jr. do not shoot it as well from the wing, or maybe it's just a psychological thing where they wanted them to be less comfortable taking shots from a position they haven't been as much, and also giving Luka different looks so he can't just be looking to that corner if the drive and the lob isn't there. Kyrie was just 6 for 19 and 0 for 5 from 3 tonight. He did have quite a few open threes that I remember that he should have knocked down. He was a team worst -19. And Derek Lively also probably had his worst game of his professional career up until this point. Shot just one time. He made it, but he was 0 for 2 from the free throw line, was -15 plus minus, and had 5 fouls. I thought it was interesting that Jason Kidd pretty much just took Daniel Gafford out of the occasion. He played Maxi Kleber 5 more minutes than him. I think you got to find a way to unlock Daniel Gafford. But I think the hard thing is, who does he guard on defense when Al Horford isn't in the game? And that's why this Boston team is such a different matchup than Minnesota. They run a 5-out system. Everybody can shoot, and it drags guys like Daniel Gafford and Lively out of the paint, which makes it a lot harder for them to rim protect. If you looked at that Minnesota series, they were just loading up on Ant because of Minnesota's lack of substantial shooting. You don't have that with Boston. You're completely spread thin, and you are relying on your perimeter ball defense to stay in front, which, speaking of which, they definitely hunted Luka in this game multiple times. Jaylen Brown would get the switch, other players would get the switch and kind of just go by, and that's something that Minnesota did not have success doing. And even Kristaps Porzingis was posting up Luka a couple times. I'm still hoping for a long series. If you're Dallas, I think you got to be a little nervous after this one. You only shot 7 for 27 from 3, but again, you weren't getting those corner 3 looks. Kyrie obviously is going to play better, but you have to figure something out schematically on offense to open the spacing up again on the court. Last thing I'll say is that Drew Holiday was incredible on Kyrie. He had 12 points, 8 boards, 5 assists, a team high +20 plus minus. That concludes game 1 of the NBA Finals. What do you guys think? Are you not worried as a Dallas fan? Are you a little nervous? Do you think Jason Kidd has some tricks up his sleeve? Game 2 takes place tomorrow night. We'll see. This could be a long series. I wouldn't count Luka Doncic or Kyrie Irving out, but they have to play much better, and they got to figure something out schematically on the offensive end. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, check out the video I just made on Joel Embiid, or this video I made on the Los Angeles Clippers. And as always, thanks for watching. We'll see ya on the hardwood.